Okay, so let's take a look now at the balance sheet columns. In the previous video, we talked about the adjusted trial balance and how we need to move the revenues and expense accounts over to the income statement columns. Now we're working on the last two columns of the worksheet, which are the balance sheet columns. Here we're going to copy over all the accounts that are not revenues or expenses. So that would include the assets, the liabilities, the owner's capital, and the owner withdrawal accounts. We're still going to make sure when we copy them over that the debits are still debits and the credits are still credits. We're still going to find the difference at the bottom, and that should equal the net income again. Okay, and we're going to use this information to prepare a balance sheet when we do the financial statements. So here shows us the balance sheet columns, and again we're going to put the assets, the liabilities, the capital and drawing account. We're going to copy over from the adjusted trial balance. We're going to copy it over to the balance sheet columns. So here's all our assets, and again the assets have a debit balance, and we're just copying them exactly the same way into the debit column of the balance sheet. Our next account is a contra asset. That's this accumulated depreciation of delivery equipment. It is an asset, but it has an opposite balance. So contra means opposite. So it is attached to the delivery equipment asset, but has a credit balance instead. We're just copying it over exactly the same way as it was in the adjusted trial balance, and we're copying it over to the balance sheet section. Then our next two accounts are liabilities, accounts payable and wages payable. Remember, when we see the payable word, that means we're going to have to pay it in the future. Right now, today, we owe it out to others, so those are liability accounts. They both have a credit balance, and we're just copying those credits over to the balance sheet columns. Here's the capital account. It has a credit balance, and we're copying that. And the withdrawals, the owner withdrawals, the drawing account has a debit balance, and we copy over that. Now, after the drawing account is revenue, and then there's a bunch of expenses, and all of those belong into the income statement column, not the balance sheet column. Now we're going to total up the total debits of the balance sheet columns. That's $49.65, and the total of the credits is $39.50. Okay, and again, you have to have all the debits and all the credits if you want them to total, to equal, just like the adjusted trial balance. Our total debits of $6,100, total credits of $6,100. But now we only have some of the credits and some of the debits, so they're not going to equal. So, but now we have to find the difference. So we take the big number, $49.65, minus the smaller number, $39.50. And that difference is $1,015. Again, this is net income. Okay. We're going to put the $10.15 under the smaller number, so that's the $39.50. And we can total everything down. $49.65 plus 0 is $49.65, and the $39.50 plus the $10.15 is $49.65. So now these two $49.65s do equal, but we had to add this $10.15 to get it that way. If you don't have a worksheet with a balance sheet columns. You can still make a balance sheet when you do financial statements. You can use your adjusted trial balance, just like we did with the income statement. We could use the adjusted trial balance. Only instead of the revenues and expenses this time, we're going to use the assets and the liabilities. So you have to know which accounts are the assets, and that includes contra assets, and which accounts are liabilities, and if there happens to be any contra liabilities. Okay, so all of those are going to go on to our balance sheet from the adjusted trial balance. Now, we also have to put the owner equity accounts on there, but it doesn't matter whether you have a worksheet or if you're using the adjusted trial balance to do your balance sheet. You need to calculate the ending capital account, and we'll discuss how to do that when we get to the financial statements module. But you can't copy them straight from the worksheet or straight from the adjusted trial balance for the capital and the drawing. You're going to use the ending capital as opposed to what's on the worksheet in the adjusted trial balance, which is actually the beginning capital along with any owner investments that were added that particular accounting period.